Hello guys, and welcome to a small video on what FeatherPanel can do and what FeatherPanel cannot do when you want to create a plugin. Now, we all know that when I created FeatherPanel, I promised you all that FeatherPanel would have his own plugin system and will support thousands and thousands of features. And it's true. That statement is actually true. FeatherPanel has one of the best plugins API and plugins feature in the world, I could say, because it supports way more than other plugins, other panels support, and the modding capabilities of FeatherPanel are much more powerful and beginner friendly. And I will show you how to create an example plugin and how to manage plugins. Do note that this video is made like when the panel is still in his development and the panel is no way ready to be deployed and run in production, but this is one of our first plugin system version. Now, when creating a FeatherPanel, you have to know that FeatherPanel runs in a Docker container. So the backend runs isolated between the front-end directory. So everything goes over an API call. I know people might argue that this is slow, but this is how the tech stack has been built, and this is what experience I have in this tech stack. Of course, FeatherPanel is cross-compatible with Pterodactyl. It has the same API structure as Pterodactyl. If you're going to install the Pterodactyl Bridge API, which will let you create Pterodactyl API keys and use FeatherPanel for other Pterodactyl compatible projects. Of course, FeatherPanel has, besides that, its own API just for people who want to create custom APIs just for FeatherPanel and not for Pterodactyl. That's something unrelated to FeatherPanel, but just know, guys, that in case if you want to create your own app on top of FeatherPanel, you can either choose to use the Pterodactyl API or our custom API, or even both. Why not? So when, as I said, the main problem is that FeatherPanel cannot, like the backend, cannot directly talk to the frontend, which means frontend is built in Vue.js. So it means we cannot change as much or as much stuff or as many stuff we might want to, but we can add components to the frontend and we can modify components with the frontend because you're using JavaScript. Plugins can inject JavaScript into the frontend, and I will show you how everything works. So to create a plugin, of course, you have to have a FeatherPanel installed. It has to run in the production mode. Please, you can also do it in the dev mode with npm run if you want to have live updates and change the panel core itself, but I do not recommend that. So you have to have the latest version of FeatherPanel. Head over to the admin panel. Over here, as you see, we have the plugins tab. Of course, we have some pre-built plugins. We have DevUtils, which just adds some CI commands to FeatherPanel, so it helps developers debug the panel and work with the panel itself. I'm working at the panel inside Visual Studio Code with Corsair. You have to go inside the settings, and you have to go inside others. And here you will see app developer mode. Please note that if you're gonna use app developer mode, you should definitely not use it on a production panel, as this mode will enable critical components to be exposed to admin users. Definitely do not turn on this feature. You have to click on enable and save changes. It will say that settings were saved successfully, and it will refresh the page. And now you see we have access to those items over here, which are really powerful, as you're gonna see. Of course, we have the plugin manager and the plugins from the normal client. First, we have to make sure that we have the admin role or the administrator role, and if you don't, make sure your role has the permission admin root. You'll need this to access those pages and perform requests to those pages. Of course, you can build your own integration with it because everything is an API request. As I said, backend, frontend only tags to the backend, and backend cannot talk to frontend. So this can be done in a desktop app too, if you want. Here we have the log viewer. Here's where you're gonna where you can read the logs. You can start auto refresh, which will auto refresh this. But in case if you are using Visual Studio Code and you have installed it via non-Docker, so you have a standalone installations, you have to install the add-on from plugins. From online repository, you will have DevUtils. Install it. And after that, you will have those plugin commands. After that, you can run the PHP app from, not the front-end dev, you have the backend watch command. If you type that, it will hook you inside the logs folder and it will show it in your Visual Studio Code, which are much more helpful rather than going on this page. But if you run inside Docker and you want to keep proceeding, this is the page where you want to read your logs. And I will be making this page more readable in the future and adding filters to this page too. Of course, you can change the logs. As I said, this is still a development mode. You also have a small console, which is a H console, which runs as the web server. So if you do who am I, it's going to say www data. This supports every, not bash commands, but every sh command. So some functions like composer should work, but some other functions won't work. Like for example, ll, which is a bash thing, won't work, or the bin bash won't be loaded. But we can do ls-ll. Of course, we can do that. Next, we have a file manager that FeatherPanel provides just for developers. This is in case you run inside Docker. This is how you manage the plugin. This is how you code the plugin too. If you don't want to use Visual Studio Code, you as you can see, here's a big warning that those files are only the safe directory files, else nothing is safe. And as you see, we have the storage, add-ons, DevUtils, and we have this over here. We can perform actions like creating files, creating folders if you want, deleting folders and files, and of course editing them and saving files itself. Then we have the most powerful feature of any modding framework ever, which is FeatherPanel's public plugin manager. This allows you to create plugins, to modify plugins, and give details from plugins, create crons, delete crons, manage migrations. Of course, some of the features are not done as I'm recording this video. They're still in testing, which I still didn't finish fully. But you can create plugins, you can edit plugins, and you can modify plugins from inside here. So to create your first plugin, you can click on create plugin. And what's awesome about our I'm sorry, I can't talk English right now, about our create new plugin feature is that it will give you everything that it can. It will create a migration, so it will show you how migrations work. It will give you a public directory, so you will see how you can expose stuff. It will give you a cron, so you can register timed actions that run every 1 minute. And it will give you front-end modifications files, so you can add items to the sidebar, create custom GUI, and all of that awesome stuff, and create even custom configuration fields and really everything. This is the best feature ever. Of course, as I'm recording this video, the target is V2 for creating a plugin. That's the Feather plugin API service. The SDK, what we are using, it's V2 at the point that I'm creating the video. At the point that FeatherPanel will get out, it will V3 will come out, and V3 will support creating crons, modifying crons from the web UI, and having more powerful and much more friendly actions from the web UI. As I said, V3 is not yet out, and I'm still working at it. And we even have in plan for V4, which will be really awesome, guys. I really can't wait to launch V4, since V4 will support drag and drop plugin building. Yes, you heard it right. You will be able with FeatherPanel to create custom plugins via drag and drop. We have some working into that. We have the core written for that. We just didn't release it yet because we still have to test it and we still have to implement each and every feature. So let's create our first plugin. Let's name it Simple UI. Of course, this is a bit broken, as you see it forgets to add the last letter for some reason. Now let's have a plugin description. Let's name it Simple UI Framework for FeatherPanel. Of course, this can be whatever you want. This is the version of your plugin, and this is the version that you're tagging the plugin framework to. You can of course target it to the V1, which is our first plugin engine, but that doesn't support front-end modifications and don't support a lot of things. Is our latest right now. Authors, of course, you can write anything here. You can write NaysKutzu, your name, and either your email address or your website if you might. So for example, mythical systems, http mythical.systems. Of course, we can add some flags. Each plugin requires at least one flag. Those are stuff like has install script, if the plugin has an install script. So this is just to help with the FeatherPanel performance. So basically, if you don't have this flag enabled, the panel, when a user installs your plugin, either via repo, via direct URL, or via file upload, will not run the install commands. So make sure you have that. And has remove script too. And we have a has update script in case if you have that too. We also have user escalate install script. This will make the install script run as root, and we'll use a bash script instead of a PHP script, which I personally recommend to do not do. That's risky to do. I will be making this flag be forbidden, and I will be removing this flag in the next version. And we have the developer escalate install script, which is only if developer mode is enabled. Since we are a developer, we should have access to some stuff. And we also have the developer ignore install script in case if you wanna ignore the install scripts. And of course we have the has events. This is really required if you wanna talk to the panel and use the API internally without calling any endpoints and seeing if a server was created or not. We also have dependencies. Those are dependencies only for the backend. We can select a dependency. We can have a PHP version, a PHP extension dependency, or composer package if you want. This will not install the composer packages, but will require users to manually install it. I will of course be upgrading this in the future, so packages will be automatically installed. And we can also specify another plugin. So if you need DevUtils, or you share some plugin dependencies, like for example, let's say you have your own plugin core to have some helper functions, you can enter it in here, and if a dependency is met, the plugin will load itself in the kernel and will boot in the app. But if a dependency is not met, the user will be hit with a warning that he requires additional packages or additional requirements, and it will guide him how to install them, or if the plugin, if the panel can install them itself. If not, it will just not load the plugin. So if the user or the panel doesn't meet that requirement, it won't load. I personally recommend to use the dependency PHP version and the latest PHP version. I personally recommend that. Then the PHP extension, which will match the PHP extension you will be using. I will be using JSON because we have some JSONs happening in the plugin. And we can also add a configuration field, which are really powerful. Those are when your user installs a plugin, if you need some configurations like API keys, license keys, or anything that you might want. It supports from texts, from emails, URL, passwords, numbers, and booleans. Those are true or false, obvious. This plugin will not think, or I will create one just to be sure. Let's create a new field name. We will name it license key. I will be showing you how to interact with this in the plugin. A display name which will be license license key. It's a text or a password, since we don't want users to see it, and a default value. You can give it like license underground, or like your add-on name, or anything you might want. Let's name it simple UI underscore, and this is a description that will show to the user. Grab this from our website and your website link. regex, you can create custom regex to validate this value, the value itself, before we send it to the backend. And of course we can have a validation message if you want, or something like a license is not valid. After that we can add more configurations or not, it's up to you. After that you can click on create plugin. As you see, plugin created successfully. It has been created in the background. A job has already started in the background, and it already created the plugin in the back. Of course, we can edit the plugin. As you see, we can manage everything, or we can see some details. As you see here, we can see configuration. Grab this key, and here we can enter the key. License is not valid because we didn't enter anything. We didn't use a regex. That might be a bug though. And here are the files that the plugin was created with. Let's see. Now if you go to the plugin page, you might see simple UI framework, the copyrights, the tags we have, the flags we have, and a small warning that it has it needs a configuration. Let's also add something so you can also see how it will look for users in case they need a dependency that they don't meet. Let's say Laravel framework, which we don't use. Of course it will say to the plugin manager that you also need it as a developer, which is obviously. As you see here, you might have saw a new thing over here. I will be showing what this is and how you can customize it. So let's go, and as you see, needs packages to run composer, and it will say what packages it needs. So you can also do that. Make sure you load the page after you create a plugin from here, because the JavaScript that the plugin comes with is not loaded by default. Let's remove this dependency because we don't need Laravel. I don't know why that is there, but have it be. Let's not leak what that does, what those buttons do, but they are really amazing. And as you see, it needs a configuration license key. Let's put test and let's save it. Of course, the regex validation is wrong, but we will fix it. Let's refresh it, and as you see, it's gone because we already have the value over here, which is amazing. That video. Now you might not see this, but in Docker containers we have now a comment. So if you do PHP app, we see over here that simple UI has now a comment. Simple UI comment, so we can run PHP apps simple UI comment. Of course, it supports spelling mistakes. The CLI is smart enough to understand that, and we also have color support. I will be showing you how to handle it. Now, as you see, we have the plugin. Not that big of a deal, is it? It's not. Make sure that if you're developing add-ons, you have Cloudflare. If you have Cloudflare, make sure you go here to configure caching, and you click on purge everything, and after that you go to overview and mark your app in development mode. So there will be no caching enabled, and you won't have any problems with caches whatsoever with modifying the frontend itself. Of course, you can export your add-on from here, and you will get the FBA file, which only the panel can read and understand. Of course, you also have some infos here in case if someone needs it, and that's pretty much it what you can do from here. Now let's go over to the plugin. You have to go, if you are working from inside the panel and not inside Visual Studio Code, you have the storage, add-ons, and we have simple UI here. And as you see, we have a bunch of files. I personally do not recommend to modify this file manually. This should only be handled by the frontend, by this interface itself. This file, please do not touch it. If you do something wrong, it will corrupt your panel and it might even break it. Then we have our main file, which is simpleui.php. This warning I should add an X command to close it because it's a bit annoying. I will also add a full screen for this too, so you can maximize it. As you see, this is our main app. As you see, this is how we create a plugin. We have our own namespace, which is namespace app add-ons, simple UI. That's our namespace. We firstly create a class, simple UI, which should be the add-on name that implements the app plugin, which is FeatherPanel. Then we need some functions like process events. Here we'll be hooking inside events. As you see, we already hook, plugins already hook themselves to the app ready event, which will give you, as you see, app event that on router ready. This is when the router is done. And we also have the plugin install. Plugin install. Here we can create directories, stuff, what we want to do when the plugin installs. The plugin uninstall. This is to run the uninstall and install commands. Of course, we also have migrations. As you see here, we have comments. Those are the CLI commands. We have the cron, which are the cron events that run every minute. We have the events itself. Here are the events. Showing stuff I shouldn't be showing you yet. Frontend, which are the files that are being loaded inside the frontend. We have a migrations. This is the migrations itself. And we have a public, which are things that are public. So if you go over here, add-ons, your add-on ID, which is simple UI, test.txt. Is it a text file? It's not a text file. It's hello, of course. I'm sorry. Hello. As you see, this is a public file. This is exposed to the web server. Be careful so you don't save public things over there. Then we have a normal SQL file, which the plugin installs. Of course, this should be in case if you want to create tables, if you want to delete tables, up to you. Then we have our frontend. This is where we can inject CSS into the frontend. We can modify stuff like anything you see over here can be modified via CSS. If you're a developer, you might know how CSS works. You should know how CSS works. We have the sidebar.json. This is the cool part. It's a bit corrupt. It's not corrupted. As you see, the items are already here and they are already here and working. This is how you create items. As you see, here you have GS for JavaScript. We are checking if window, that simple plugin UI, is loaded. And then we are gonna say show dashboard. That's only if the simple UI is loaded. Then we also have the JavaScript that runs and builds the overlays. And here are how we are injecting design. I will be showing you how this design looks. And this is pretty much the default file. It's pretty easy. You just create styles and then you create a dialog. You have a show model and it's really pretty easy to understand how it works. It's not that hard, and here we are initting this. As you see, if you open inspect element and you go to console, you might see cropped. It's still loading old plugins. I love Opera. This might happen because your browser has caches too, so you will have to disable them. I have no idea how to disable them in here. Oh my god, I'm using this is the first time I started using this browser, so my bad. I really have no idea how to disable caches, but it's using caches because we don't have Crypt.io installed anymore, and it's still trying to load those two things which are not present anymore. I don't know why it's trying to load them. Let's hope it's still trying to load them. I will have to look into this, but for now let's open Chrome for browsing stuff. Let's see. Let's not leak anything. We are not leaking anything anyway. Oh yeah. Oh, I kind of smelled it a bit. Okay, in Google Chrome it works much better. I don't know what it is. Of course, if you're in developer mode, it will show you, hey, developer mode is active. Be careful. Don't ever run it in developer mode. I actually accidentally spoiled it for you guys, but I will be showing you how that works. And the technology behind is really smart and pretty thoughtful. Let's go into simple UI and finish the presentations of how things you can do. And you have crons, which you create cron jobs. They are pretty simple. You just create a new class. Example. Yeah, this is a problem. We should... Oh, I just found a problem which I will fix. Be careful. If you create a class, make sure the file name has the same name. Else, you will be having problems. But... of course, I will be fixing it. I will note myself, and it's gonna be okay. So this is how cron files work. You create your namespace app cron, which isn't right. Again, I will be fixing that. I'm really sorry. I didn't check the crons, but they do work, and we are importing time task twice. Oh, time task and time task. Okay. Firstly, we create a class. The name of the class should be the same as the file. And then we implement the time task. Then we should have a function called public function run. This is the function that will be called when the cron job runs. Then we create a new cron equals new cron. We will name this the name of the class in lowercase or whatever you want to name it. And here we have 1h. This stands for 1 hour. We can have 1 minute for 1 minute. We can have 5 minutes. We can have anything. Then we have a try and a catch. Then we have a try. Then we will check cron, run if due, function. We open a function. We open the function. And here we say, like, we do the stuff that we want to do. We read tables. We import tables. Anything you might want to do. It's really up to you. Here you can run anything you want, like if, I don't know, environment variable, let's say meal enabled, then we can write our own function here to check if the plugin is enabled. It's really up to you, but I will be showing a tutorial on how I'll be creating a nice plugin for FeatherPanel. But this is how to create stuff like that. Then we have the timed task event. This will mark as if a cron job did run successfully or not. Time task that mark run will mark the job as run. Here you should match those two together to be sure. I will be showing you what that does inside the admin dashboard. And here you mark it as true in case if it succeeded. And here you say what you want to say. For example, for emails, you might want to say send 100 emails, blah, 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 or failed to send or skipped emails. And if you have errors, of course, you're going to do like down here, app equals an app, get instance. This means you're not, this means you are running a soft boot. You're not running a soft boot, and this is a cron job. Or a CLI command. That's how you call the app in get database connection and get everything up. And this is how we log inside the logs over here. And this is how we mark a task as failed. It's really nice. And as last, we have comments, and we have simple UI comment.php. This is how to create a comment. It's easy to. We just create a new class, we name it simple UI comment, and we implement command builder. And then we have functions like execute, get description, get subcomments, in case you have subcomments. And as you see here, we implement CLI app. So there are two types of apps. There are normal apps and there are CLI apps. CLI apps are only for CLI, which have database connections, have environment variables loaded inside. And normal apps are meant if you are making an API request, which I'll also be showing what we can do, because we even have power. We have, like I said, we have power over everything in the panel via our interface. But as I'm making this video, we don't have everything documented yet. We don't have anything out for you, so we kind of have to read the source code a bit to understand. To do that, for example, comments are saved inside app CLI comments, and here you can read some comments like apply CO. You can see how you take some connections. Migrate is how the migrate runs. As you see, we get the instance, we say migration tool. Here we mark the time start. Here we get the load event variable. We connect to the database. We get a database connection, and here we get a PDO connection, and we run everything as you see. Same for help. This is pretty much the same thing. This is how CLI works. The cron jobs, so you can understand more of the cron jobs. You can go inside the storage cron. You have the runner.bash and runner.php. Plugins can run PHP files and bash files. You can run both of them if you want. But here we have, for example, the mail sender. This is how we send emails. This is how we do the validation. This is how we send emails. And this is where we mark the shuttle as done. We have update env, which does nothing yet, and the server shuttle processor, which will process the server shuttles from inside the panel. As you see, this is like one of the most powerful like actions we can perform for servers for normal usage. Of course, everything is possible with FeatherPanel. I'm sorry. We also have migrations, so you can see how the system migrations work in their tables. I will be adding a built-in database manager over here so you can read stuff. We also have the logs if you want to read the logs from the web editor. No one's stopping you. We also have backups, which will come very soon. And we have the caches. Those are stuff that Medical Dash I'm so sorry, that FeatherPanel caches. Of course, they can be like normal caches and not normal caches. This is a file that handles caching. It's a pretty simple file that handles JSON caches. Tests, we have unit tests. Plugin can build unit tests too, and they can hook into unit tests, but that's only available from V3 panel API plugin version. Plugins can also build mixins, which will modify the files itself. Those are more powerful than events, but they are not planned to run in a production environment as well, because you are basically modifying stuff, core stuff. You are stuck, of course, in the S directory. You cannot go back. You're stuck in the backend directory. You cannot proceed up or down. And this is it. Basically, this is how you modify stuff from FeatherPanel and how you can add stuff to FeatherPanel. Of course, we can do the same thing. As you saw, we can work from Visual Studio Code here. And if you work in remote, I'm working in a remote, you can have a SSH connection and be connected to this. Why? What the heck? I have no idea why we have this in our public. Oh, I know why we have this, because we use the web CLI, and I showed you the web CLI. Web CLI home directory is over here. So when you're using the web CLI, you are stuck in here. You can, of course, go back and go all over the server. But that's basically how you can create stuff. Oh yeah, and people, in case if you want to know how our colors and what color codes we support, it's really easy. We support the Minecraft legacy color codes. So basically, going here, you can have the .7 and anything that Minecraft really supports. You can run PHP. If you have the dev tools installed, you can run PHP colors, PHP app colors. And you can see every color we have 0, and we can even strike text. We can have a lot of things. L is blood. And we have really a lot of support for really a lot of things inside our CLI. This is really awesome if you want to build a nice plugin. This is same as Mythical Dash's plugin system, but of course it's newer. The FeatherPanel one, it's much better than the Mythical Dash ecosystem because it's built from scratch and built from the ground up, and it's still not ready. As you saw, we still have to implement a lot of things, and we promise that we will bring support for more things in the future, like seeing a lot of stuff, what's happening, having WebSockets connections, and really some really nice things that you really might want to have. And why we have the file manager and log viewer, this is because we will be providing some nice things for this panel, so you can like launch a free FeatherPanel instance with us. I will be hosting it, of course. We have front-end modifications. This is why we have a file manager in here and a console in here, so you can touch it. Of course, if this runs in a Docker container, this will be, of course, secured, and only if developer mode is enabled, and only root admins will have access. So like a random support guy will not have access into here. But basically this is how FeatherPanel management system works, and this is everything that FeatherPanel can do. And I promise you guys, FeatherPanel will have much more than you just saw over here. Just so that you know, this is not done. We are not done with this panel. We will make this panel the best panel ever when we're done with it, of course. But as said, this is everything I can show you till now. This is everything that is possible till now, and much more will be possible in the future. And just that, as you see, we have front-end modifications inside the Vite app without modifying anything. As you see, we have here are the normal front-ends files, and it's really, really powerful, the plugin system. I'm really proud of it. And we have really a lot of customizations into FeatherPanel built in. Like, for example, if going to the admin panel, users, you can customize what columns you want to show. If you want to hide the emails, you can do that. You can view players like servers, activities, mails. You can send mass emails. You can do really nice things with FeatherPanel. It's really something that was never seen inside the hosting industry. We can edit users, of course. We can change their role, external ID. We can have API keys. As you see, we have public and private key authentications, applications where we can manage our nodes. Let's wait for our nodes to load. The nodes are just some normal Pelican nodes. They're really awesome. I recommend you guys use FeatherPanel. As you see, we have a lot of awesome things. We can see the utilization of each node from the panel. We can see Docker. We can purge some storage. We can see the networking that we have. We are using pterodactyl wings or Pelican wings. You can really see a lot, and it's basically the same as pterodactyl. Pretty much you can use every pterodactyl setup, and the best part is that we support more database types: MySQL, Postgres, SQL, MariaDB, MongoDB, Redis for servers. It's really awesome. You can check health. It's really awesome, guys. I pretty much beg you to use FeatherPanel. You can create allocations very easily, as you see over here. It's very easy and very easy to understand. Deploying servers is easier than ever. Viewing, editing servers, deploying new servers is really easy. As you see, it's really neat. You have email templates. You can customize edge email templates. You can send mass emails, which is really awesome that you can send emails to all your customers. And it, of course, supports how is it called? HTML. It's really awesome. You can upload images for your panel. You can have panel images. You can have redirect links, so you can create mythical panel. That's you have some nice things like mythical panel.mythicalsystem/discord, and when it loads, you'll see it. You're gonna be redirected, of course. You can really do a lot of stuff. Settings are really awesome. Security are really awesome. I really recommend you use FeatherPanel. Database management. You really have a lot to lose if you are not using FeatherPanel. I really recommend it. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, but going over here, you can see your the time tasks, and you can see if the task is late, if task succeeded. It's really awesome, guys. And even the interface, even what you can customize, you can see the server activities. Those are all activities from servers. Account activities, profile, you can change your avatar. You can enable to factory, you can delete your account, you can log out of all devices, you can customize the appearance. We have a nice dock. This is our FeatherPanel dock, which is really nice. You can have a dock. As you see, it's the Mac dock. You can, of course, hide it. If you don't like it, you can set the sidebar to collapsed or hidden. If you just want to use the dock, we can change the dock size. You really can customize a lot from this panel. I really worked a lot into it. I'm really working a lot. You can change the colors, you can change the pictures. SSH keys are also in Pterodactyl API keys. Activities, you can see your activities. Mails, you can again see your mails from here, which is really awesome, guys. I really spent a lot of time into FeatherPanel. You can have server categories because people might not have them. As you see, we can have a list view, we can create folders, we can refresh them, we can validate them in case servers are not valid. As you see, this is a Minecraft server. It has a shuttle to run with PL. We can perform every action we want to. It's really amazing. We have logs to see. The logs are empty apparently. We can see install logs. We can have the server activities. We can see what happened. Of course, this is still not done. We still have to fix some stuff. We have the file manager with a bunch of actions. We really have databases. As you can see, we can create databases. We can select a host, which you can't in Pterodactyl. We can select the database name. This is because you might have a separate host only, separate VPS only for MySQL. You have shuttles, which you also have in Pterodactyl, users, sub-users. Of course, you're gonna have this backups, which are really better. Those are really better than in Pterodactyl itself. They're more optimized, much faster, much better compression algorithm, more storage options. You can choose Wings, and I will be adding support for Google Cloud and Dropbox, so each users can back up their own server backups to their cloud storage or to the hosting providers. Allocations, of course, which are really much better thought. As you see, you can get an allocation much easier. You can delete allocations. Startups, you can modify your startup command. You can modify the Docker image. It's really easy to modify stuff. You can modify your environment variables in case they're allowed to be modified or not. You can have a lot of customization options. I really hope you guys like this panel. And even for the web console, you can customize this console. You can hide stuff like Wings connection status if you don't like it. Server info cards, you can hide it. I don't know why you want to do that. They're really nice to see them. If you want that, you can even hide terminal, which is amazing. You can make the terminal auto scroll. You can show the timestamps for each message in case that server doesn't support it. You can even show the max terminal lines, performance charts. You can modify them. You can disable anything you want. You can have filters, so you can like filter out stuff you don't want to see, stuff like time reset. Those are of course regex. You have to use regex. You can either hide them, replace them. You can replace them with some other text, or you can highlight them. Oh, it works without regex too. As you see, timing reset is highlighted. You can also do really a lot of stuff with this panel, and of course everything is saved inside your FeatherPanel. Local storage, it's not saved inside the database, but that will be coming soon, so settings can be saved and loaded from the database, because right now it's inside your session storage, it's not inside of global storage. And I will be providing a mythical cloud integration for FeatherPanel, so you can sync customizations and features between other panels, and it's really nice. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for taking a bit of time to understand how FeatherPanel plugin works and how FeatherPanel looks, and also a nice checkout on how FeatherPanel itself will look when it's done. Thank you and have a good day.